All right. How's everyone doing? Yeah? You guys enjoying the conference so far? Thank you for making it this far. Save the best for last, right? You hope. My name's Evan Gertis. I have a Bachelor's of Science in Physics from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. I have a master's degree in computer science from the Allen Paulson. It's actually an example, right? As security professionals, we have to plan for the worst, but we have to have a backup plan. But I digress. Just to give you a little more information about my background here, right? So I'm a Security Plus certified information security professional. I also hold a certificate in Terraform as well. I'm a certified Terraform associate developer, and I'm a certified computer and electrical engineer in the state of Georgia. And today I'm going to talk to you about how to implement a developer security operations program the right way. Why didn't the IT team set up their infrastructure on the beach? It was cloudy. So, ask yourself, why are you here? Another mic change. Good things come in threes anyways. So, all right. Ask yourself, though, why are you here? Prepare yourself for a paradigm shift. You think about developer security operations, it's a mindset. This is a way for you to think about things differently. Consider it a renewal of your mind. There are 5 key things that I want you to walk away from after this talk. Number 1, automated scanning removes manual labor. Number 2, application security reviews require a security champion. Number 3, strong vulnerability reports are most easily articulated to upper management when you can support them with the proper information from platforms like Veracode and Xray. We can use penetration tests to support these findings, and we can also use penetration tests to find the vulnerabilities that SAST and DAST miss. These results, combined with the penetration tests, can be supported by a very sophisticated logging system. Okay. How you do anything is how you do everything. Our process doesn't get people it doesn't force them to do their job. What it does is it actually gets them to want to do their job. How many of you have sat in a meeting with a liar? How many of you have dealt with a toxic micromanager? Show of hands. Yeah, we all have, right? Have you ever heard of shift left? Anyone? So how do you do shift left the right way? We inspire accountability, and our process uses the right questions to get the right people to take action. Our process is based on research from the 2 most referenced papers that describe the challenges by DevSecOps from connected papers. Now, we all know that configuration management is a security engineer's worst nightmare. It's a very difficult thing to have to work through. So, there's no standardization for developer security operations at this point. We need to find a way to be able to move through this. When we don't accept standards, then shadow IT becomes the norm in most organizations. So how do we address these issues? You have to make firewalkers. Okay, so processes really don't care about your feelings. We convert your security team into firewalkers to give your business a competitive edge so that you can land and expand. In other words, we take your company from being interested to a mature DevSecOps capability. our process cares about your feelings. These challenges that we're facing here are very important. And at the end of this talk, I'd love to give you a more detailed overview of the training presented here. I want you all to walk away from this talk with an understanding of the 5 key points that we covered at the beginning of the presentation. If you want help implementing this, this is where I come in. As you can see, the weakest link in any chain is the human being. This is one of the papers that I'm referencing here from Connected Papers. What we have found is that we need to provide situational awareness. There has to be a bridge between the security team and the development team. There has to be someone that can actually handle this role. We need to get the right people set up with the right tools so we can get the right things done at the right times to get the right outcomes. And this process was developed by analyzing these 2 papers which describe these challenges. And these things need to be done at the beginning of the process. They can't be done afterwards. So for example, we can't push production code out with the vulnerabilities, so how do you do it? The papers that we're describing here are very new, they're very important, and they're the only ones that talk about the humanistic element of a management process. I'm happy to share these with you after the talk, please just ask. So we need a process. It's about having a process, right? We have to have some way of moving forward and making progress. So ask yourself, how would you like to be 80% more efficient? Our process ensures that management sees the progress of achieving specific outcomes. And this will help you allocate the financial resources to support your project. The key is to build security champions. And these champions have to be supported with the right tools to be able to show management, to articulate in the language of upper management that we're making progress. So, the keys to making a good team: passion, accountability, clear communication, and execution. So we have the Neosporin for your security needs. This is an outline of the suite of tools that you can use to achieve these results. First, we start with Veracode, and we supply security application testing with dynamic application security testing and container scanning supported by executive dashboards. We use a custom penetration testing workflow using Burp Suite, all supported by a free compliance policy framework that can be implemented with infrastructure as code. And then the results of these penetration tests can be traced through ElasticSim, which provides a whole nother suite of benefits for an organization, such as heartbeat alerting, monitoring, and traceability. Then communicating the vulnerability reports associated with the specific binaries in an application can be shown in Xray reports. Then we finally conclude everything with a custom application security review that features a very specific humanistic management process that gets people to take accountability for their work and move forward with positive momentum. So, we'll go into Veracode. Adversity is the foundation of strength. I implemented this entire thing by myself, and I made it look easy. You have to find a way to take an organization from chaos to clarity. No one wants to lead, but you have to do something at some point. We all know that success breeds success, and if you aren't first, you're last. Veracode provides an all-inclusive platform for managing an organization's security program. This organization allowed 254 vulnerabilities associated with Jackson Databind to sit in their application for years. How long do you think it took me to pull this one off? How long do you think it took me to exploit Jackson Databind? "30 minutes. As you can see, this process, after 6 months, completely removes all those vulnerabilities, everything's gone, and we're back at a steady state. Now, I implemented all of this, but do you think I went through and fixed all this code and updated all these third-party problems? So, as I said, we have to build champions. That's the first step. And a champion has to take ownership and they have to lead by example, but we have to give them the right tools and the support structure for them to make progress. When they have the right tools and they can show, not tell, because nobody wants to hear someone tell them something, they need to see it. Nobody trusts anyone anymore. Let's face it, ever since COVID, nobody trusts anyone. It just doesn't happen, right? So you don't have to be an expert in the field, but you need to be able to articulate what you're doing to upper management. The first step is to define that champion, right? The State of the Security Software Report found that when you provide developers with the proper training, they actually want to take accountability for their work. They enjoy what they're doing, right? Don't we like learning? Isn't that fun? So the first step is finding that champion and then giving them the right tools so that they can be successful. Now we get to the implementation. So the first step is using static application security testing to capture all the vulnerabilities associated with an application. SAST gives you the static view of the code. It gives you all the specific lines with the vulnerabilities associated with an application so that you can go back through the application, you can trace your steps all the way up to the top. It's very simple. In the Veracode platform, select Scans Analysis, Static Analysis. Just get started. Then we use a combined approach with dynamic analysis. Now, dynamic analysis allows us to look at the API. So we have the static side, which is all of the code. Now we can look at the API with dynamic analysis. Who wants to sit there and do a penetration test and repeat the same penetration test over and over and over again? The dynamic analysis allows us to save a lot of time because we can just look at the API and we can say, oh, okay, here's where the vulnerabilities are. This is the next step that we need to take here. Here's an example of a walkthrough of dynamic analysis. Again, if anyone has any questions, please stop me at any point in the presentation. What I want to show you is that we're looking at the API here where the static scan actually looks at the code. And so what this does is it goes through and it runs a scan, and then it publishes the results, and then you can see the results in the platform, and you're able to articulate what you're doing to upper management. It's very simple. Let's go to Scans Analysis and click Dynamic Scans. That's how you get started. The next step is implementing container scanning. So container scanning can be combined with the static application security test and the dynamic application security test to provide a comprehensive security overview for your application. The container is now one of the most important assets to secure, right? Basically, if I want to hack your application, I'm going to find a third-party vulnerability in the container, bake it into your image, and then, yeah, you get hacked. It's very simple to implement container scanning in Veracode. Here's an example. You just use this source clear download, which contains an all-in-one bash script, and once you launch this bash script, it'll give you all the vulnerabilities associated with the application in the container. And then in the Veracode platform, you can actually see these vulnerabilities. The next step is supporting all of this with executive dashboards. As I said, nobody believes anyone anymore. And executives aren't going to want to see a giant wordy report. What they want to actually see are numbers, statistics, and graphs that show that you're making progress in what you're doing. It's very simple. You go to Analytics in the platform, and then Veracode dashboards. Then you can start building out the pre-configured dashboards. The next step is actually building out your own custom dashboards to refine what you're actually showing upper management. So this is important because it ensures team accountability, and using this process we can show progress. Again, real leaders show, they do not tell. Burp Suite is a sword for security engineers. The only things you really need to know about Burp Suite are the Burp proxy, the scanner, repeater, and intruder. we can use this custom penetration testing workflow to find the vulnerabilities in this application that the SAST and DAST miss. Once we have this, we can hit the application going from line by line all the way up through the report from SAST to find these vulnerabilities to get developers to take accountability for their work. First step here is configuring the proxy. When you set up your proxy, you have a way of seeing what you're sending to the application, and you can start to design a payload so you can actually attack the application. But the first step is getting this proxy set up so that you can actually use Burp the right way. Well, you got to learn how to crawl before you bawl. So the scanner is a powerful tool that allows you to define the scope of your penetration test. This gives you all the endpoints associated with the application. Once you've defined your scope, you can start to make a plan. This is the first step. You get the reconnaissance down. You're able to actually see what's in the application. And we can use this to look at the web traffic. And yeah, get ready for it. You can use this to generate a PDF report in HTML format as well. Then you can actually send this to upper management so they can see the results of this penetration test. Then you want to use the repeater. This repeater will allow you to use a custom payload that you can launch in the application, and you can start to attack. The intruder will launch the actual attack. Here's an example of a SQL injection attack. As you can see, this type of screenshot is what you include in the vulnerability. This is what you include in your report as a security engineer. And then you rinse and repeat. You just keep doing this over and over again, and you save time in your penetration test. So it's important because we can show team accountability, and this process shows progress. Real leaders show, they don't tell. Now we'll go into compliance. So you can build a river in a desert. Essentially, you can use the CIS Foundation's benchmark as a free compliance framework to get started with this. This dashboard here just uses the guidelines set forth in the CIS Foundation's benchmark, combined with Terraform to implement these guidelines, and allows you to monitor all of your cloud resources in one location. As you can see, this also provides you with the logs so you can trace those steps from that custom penetration test. Right here you can see that I'm actually exploiting the SQL injection in this log. So, the first step here is selecting that compliance framework, and the Center for Internet Security Foundation's benchmark is one of the best because it's free. It's great for new security engineers to get started. It has easy to read instructions, and once it's read, it just needs to be implemented with Terraform. Now, the things that you'll need, you have to control access to these resources. So you want to use AWS IAM, and Terraform provides a provider which has access to, which allows you to use AWS resources such as IAM rules, so you can restrict access to these resources. Then you need to set up storage management. Once you have your S3 buckets configured, you can link them to CloudTrail. Once these are linked to CloudTrail, you can use AWS FileBeat, the AWS FileBeat module from Elastic, to build all these pre-configured dashboards. And then essentially you just have to flip a switch. It's a simple YAML file, and once you configure it, you're done. Now we'll go into ElasticSIM. So not only does this allow you to trace those steps from that custom penetration testing workflow, you can use this to set up alerting, and you can monitor all those cloud resources in that dashboard that you saw. It allows you to combine multiple tools all in one interface so that your organization can see everything that's going on inside of their application. So this is important because it ensures team accountability. And again, using this process, we can show progress. Real leaders show, they don't tell. Now we'll go over Xray. Again, you can build a river in a desert. This is an example of a DevSecOps pipeline. Why is it a DevSecOps pipeline? We push the pain forward. Pain is a good thing in security. It makes us fix things quicker and faster. Most companies allow their production code to go out without any security ahead of time. So the steps here are initializing, configuring the build info, publishing the info to Xray, and then running the scan. Here is an example of a policy that's set up in Xray. This is visible for everyone in the organization. Here's an example of a PDF report that shows all of the vulnerabilities associated with the application, the steps that they need to take to fix it. So these numbers are going to beat talk. And if you have a good report, I'll give you a promotion. So no one wants to do these things the hard way. If your numbers aren't right, you've gone too far, and the numbers are easy to read. How do you do it? My friend Asim at JFrog provides amazing technical support. Simply just get the documentation, write the code, go back to your boss and ask if it's correct, and then do it again. So here's a step for initializing Xray. You want to use the RT build info plugin from Xray. This takes the server ID, the username, and the password and the URL to the server, and once you connect to it, you're able to initialize Xray. Again, this plugin allows you to configure your build and launch it. You want to use this report in Xray to communicate to upper management that there are severe vulnerabilities in your application, and you want to make sure that developers are going through and actually fixing them. Those results are shown in the PDF. So again, it comes back to accountability and showing. Now we'll go over the application security review. Again, you can build a river in a desert. Here are the results from one of our application security reviews, right? We've identified a champion, we've moved into a new certification level, we're consistently scanning, and we implemented Docker container scanning. And as you can see here at the end, we're moving forward. We're actually going to fix things, and we're going to provide guidance on the third-party vulnerabilities that need to be fixed, and we're going to prevent those new vulnerabilities from being introduced. And again, this comes back to 5 key specific questions. How much time do you spend in meetings? Nobody wants to waste time. You can actually automate this entire process. We can automate all of these, we can automate the vulnerabilities that we find in Veracode and actually assign them to individuals so that they take accountability for their work, right? And the ticketing system that I would recommend is Atlassian Jira, but you could also use Trello. So for the reviews, you can use Google Calendar, Microsoft Teams, or Zoom, any platform of your choice. The important thing here is that these are recorded using Zoom recordings or Manavi Screen Recorder. Manavi's about 99 bucks. So we can automate the ticketing to save time, and this gets individuals to take accountability for their work, so they don't have to waste time in these meetings because they have their name assigned to these tickets. It comes back to leadership. How many of you have lost a good leader? You have to ask the right questions. And there are 5 specific questions that you have to ask yourself before you ask your team. And when you ask your team, you ask them in an open environment, you record the meeting, you distribute the meeting minutes before the meeting and after the meeting, and you start the meeting with a question. Why? You make sure they read the meeting minutes before they came in. So this proves that you can move forward, but you have to ask the right questions. Let me know if you want these questions. I'm happy to share the details. This is important because it comes back to accountability, and using this process, we can show progress. We don't show, we tell. So let's just do a victory lap here. Here we have Veracode software composition analysis set up. You can see all the vulnerabilities in the platform. Here's the developer security operations pipeline. Shift left, push all the pain forward. Here's the automated ticketing. The automated ticketing saves you a bunch of time, so you have to sit in meetings, wasting a bunch of time. Here's an example of a ticket that actually shows all the details from a vulnerability, making sure that it gets fixed. You can see it's unassigned here because typically in my situation, I'm going to go fix this first, then come back to the other guy. I'm going to say, hey, I fixed it. What are you doing? Here's an example of a Veracode certification. You can see that this organization was at a horrible state before. It was at 58, moved it up to 93. They moved up to 94, and now it's at Veracode level 4. Last time I checked, it's at Veracode level 5. Here's an example of an e-learning curriculum that you can set up in the Veracode platform. This e-learning curriculum teaches developers how to implement secure coding and a ton of other great things. You got to get it set up in the right way. You got to make sure that you start them out simple and then move them through more difficult concepts. Again, here's the AWS FileBeat module. You can see we have all the API calls. We can see the instances across the globe. Here's an example of me popping SQL injection or some other sort of hack. And then again, this is the beauty of it. This guy actually put in here, he put SQL injection, and you can show him. And then when you go and you say, what are you doing here? You got to be gentle. All right, and then here's another example of the application, the software composition analysis, right? You can see that this has gone down even further. Here's an example of container scanning. This is the automated system, right? You can see these tickets are created successfully, automated, saving people time. Here's an example of scanning cadence. You can see as you scan, over and over again, what this shows, based on the results of the certification level going up, you get better results. So the more scans you run, the better results you get. Here's 20 microservices that you can just see right here with all the vulnerabilities associated with them in a container scan. Basically, you click on this, and instructions on how to fix the vulnerability. So developers really like this. Here's an example of a bug script ticket. Just throw it in a calendar and have it happen on a weekly basis. And here's an example of an executive dashboard. As you can see, using this process, over 1,500 vulnerabilities were closed. However, 1,600 still remain. It's a process, but you can show progress. All right. Now, here we go. This is the last step here. Why is this important? You can take this entire pipeline and you can secure it with zero trust. You don't see the pipeline. Now you do. So, if you want more information, please let me know. Please take a picture of this. This is all my contact information. So if you want to reach out,